Hey everybody, Johnny5 Alive here, and welcome to a video series where I showcase what I found to be the best in slot min-max build for one of the 12 Midnight Suns heroes. I will also give a quick review of all the hero abilities to show what other potential fun build options the hero may have, or reveal the thought process that ultimately led me to the one and only best choice to min-max said hero. Once we have given an overview of the hero, I will give a tier list rating in direct comparison to the other 12 heroes. We'll also mention what battle items and heroes synergize best with this build. This is a 1 of 12 part series. If you end up finding this video informative or helpful in any ways, please check the video description for a full playlist of my series for Midnight Suns, and also don't forget to like and subscribe. So let's get into today's hero. Today's hero of choice is the one and only god tier hero, the unbeatable and completely broken Ironman. Ironman is certainly the jack of all trades and the master of everything. He's the best support of the game. He's the best single target damage dealer. He's also the best area of effect damage dealer as well. There's nothing any hero can do that Iron Man can't do, and he likely does it better. Either Firaxis needs to nerf Iron Man or just make the other heroes better, because he's certainly in a whole other category in this game to a point where it actually feels unfair and cheaty. If you watched my last video covering Scarlet Witch, my personal favorite hero in this game, you might be asking, if he's so good, why isn't Iron Man your favorite hero? And the reason for that is he feels like cheating, and I like my XCOM style games to be difficult and punishing. Iron Man will single-handedly carry you through Ultimate 3 difficulty without any mods. Once he's fully modded, he can wipe out the entire battlefield without using a single card play. I'm not even kidding. But hey, I'm not complaining. This is pretty badass, but just maybe a little too badass though. Talking more on what makes him good though, he is a marked target support hero, and marking targets in this game means you can kill a marked enemy and get your card play refunded, allowing you to clear large packs of enemies for effectively free. Not only does he mark groups of enemies, he can mark them invulnerable to increase the damage dealt to them. And he has many other support utilities such as generating redraws, drawing cards, granting armor, and more. But he also has some of the highest DPS in the game without any need of drawing crits, empowering him with strengthened, or anything like that. He simply does well without assistance, making him a beast of a damage dealer at any point of progression in this game. Unlike other heroes who I've generally found one best in slot build for, Iron Man has several options to lean into, making him diverse. And if you're like me where you find him sorta OP, you might want to try out one of the alternate builds that I'll be suggesting in today's video. So let's get into it. Starting with his tier list ranking. He's obviously S tier without mods. I put him below the Hunter though, because Hunter is simply god tier and has so much more build potential than any other hero in this game. But he is certainly the best of all the Marvel heroes. So he goes straight to the top of the S tier for me. With mods, nothing really changes. He's still the best. So let's take a closer look at him in game. Let's start with my hero profile for Iron Man. As you can see here, brought him on 71 missions. He's KO'd 602. I'm actually curious because I was looking at Wanda in my last video, 74 missions and KO'd 300. So you can see here, as we're talking about damage potential, he's knocked out twice the amount of enemies that Scarlet has in the same amount of missions that he's been on. Hence my point where he's also a DPS machine, and Wanda, in my opinion, is arguably the best support in the game other than Iron Man, because he does what she does, but just also kills everything. And we can see here, Quick Blast has been used 233 times, Mark Target 164. Those are the ones I'm leaning into the most. Precision 110, Surgical Strike 80, and between the ones that just nuke everything on the map, that would be Surgical Strike and Air Superiority. But you can see, why have they been played so few times? Because you only need to play them once to kill everything on the map. It's just, there's nothing else to do. It's kind of funny. All right, so let's get into the hero talk here, starting with his passive. I'll handle this. If two Iron Man cards are played in a turn, he gets +1 redraws, limit 1 per turn. Again, I would like the developers to make epic and even legendary passives in future DLC. I feel it's like a little bit underwhelming. I'd like to see this upgraded to +2 redraws and increase the limit at legendary to 2 per turn or something like that, because just it's nice when you get it. The extra redraw is nice, but it's really insignificant, and considering how many cards, like if you're using Doctor Strange or you're using any of his things like Leave It to Me, they're giving you so many more redraws that it's like redraws are handed out like in droves like candy. Why can't they be handed out a little bit more generously through his passive? It would definitely make his passive more on par with his playstyle, because I forgot to mention at the top of the video in his introduction, his main mechanic, which plays off his passive here, is he redraws cards to empower them. So when you redraw a card, you usually replace it with a new card. Here, you redraw his card, it consumes the redraw but adds an effect to the current card. It empowers it. Once the card has been fully empowered, such as Quick Blast, if we redraw this, it'll add knockback to the card. And we redraw it a second time, it will in fact replace this card with a new one. So if you actually want to get rid of the card, it makes it more difficult to do it, because you have to empower it with your redraws, wasting your redraws. Hence why you kind of need more redraws with this hero, and his passive's kind of underwhelming for what you need him to do. Regardless, you'll get the redraws that you need through other means. So we'll talk about that here. Let's jump into his stats here. You can see my Iron Man is level 76. I think he's my highest or second highest. Him and Wanda are both 76. So my two highest heroes in the game are him and Wanda. While I do feel he's kind of broken, sometimes I feel like I need Iron Man or Wanda, and I generally just pick Wanda because there's more challenge and more fun to be had, where this is like a guaranteed just nuke everything and be over with it. So he's really good for farming missions for resources, and that's why he's so high on my levels. He gets the job done. With that said, you're going to want your crit chance maxed at 50%. You're going to want your crit damage maxed at 75%. Now all your abilities are, it's a 50-50 chance for them to do 75% more damage, which is nearly double. Power is very important. This caps out at 25%. Mine's almost there at 22.5. Very, very important. And you're also going to want his strength up, because he does have knockback. Maybe not as much as other heroes. It's really just his Quick Blast. I wouldn't say you need this. You could definitely pass on this, but this caps out at 50%, and it's a nice bonus to have. Everything else is really just a bonus, but not necessary. So just focus on his crit and his power, and you should be good to go. Strength is a bonus. So that's the stat priority for there. Let's take a look at my build. Kicking things off is Quick Blast. So one of the rules with modding cards, you can't have draw a card on something that draws a card, and you can't have draw a card on something that's free, and vice versa. For some reason, this is the exception to the rule. I don't think I've seen this on any other card in the game, but this is draw an Iron Man card. On KO, draw an Iron Man card. Redraw to add knockback. This is insane. When you use this to open up and just kill a minion. When minions get one-shotted by anything, because this is quick, it will not only kill them, but it'll draw 2 Iron Man cards and refund the card play. So you basically just use this to increase your Iron Man hand capacity, and Iron Man's playstyle is not only about redrawing, but the more cards in his hand, the more powerful he gets. It plays on his ego. He wants to take over the battlefield. Another reason I don't generally like playing with this hero, because it tends to be that your whole hand fills up with Iron Man cards, and he's the only one playing. So it just becomes the Iron Man show every time he comes along. You can have the mod so it draws a card on KO, but in order to really make the most out of Iron Man, you want him to draw 2 of his own cards, because you're going to, as we go through my build, you'll see why. So I have 2 of these. It's debatable that you could mod one of these to have give you 1 strengthened on KO, and that way increases all of his damage by 50%. I don't think it's necessary, because he already does so much damage, and it's better to have the volume of cards than it is to have the damage, because you'll never really have a problem with the damage anyways. Plus his crit chance and crit damage is so high, there's a good chance, a 50-50 chance, that his abilities are going to be double damage anyways, and he doesn't even need that, in my opinion. So he's already great. You don't need strength strengthen. This is just probably the best quick attack in the whole game. It's insane. Leave it to me. You draw 2 Ironman cards, you get 2 redraws, and you gain 2 fast. So having those extra redraws are nice to empower your cards or to redraw cards you don't want. And gaining 2 fast, the function of fast makes it so all of your heroic cards cost 1 less. So these ones here that cost 2, 2, and 4, they're going to cost 1, 1, and 3. That is really, really nice. That's the main thing you want from this. And the second thing you want from this is the mod that I put on it. As you can see, mine says +4 in the bottom left-hand corner. That is a +2 heroism mod. That means we're doubling the amount of heroism we generate from this. So this only draws 2 cards. You're not really doing it for the card draw because it already costs a card, and it is a card to draw 2 more. So it's only like +1 in terms of cards. But the redraws, the fast, and the heroism is why you want this, because he needs to be able to play these cards, and he could do it at a reduced cost. The one downside to this is it's going to cost you a card play. It's not free. You cannot mod it to be free because it's a draw card skill. There's a rule where you can't get free on cards that draw cards. It's going to cost you a card, but it's definitely worth it, especially because you'll more than likely not need any card plays after this. Because moving into marked target, apply 2 marked and 2 vulnerable. You get to apply 2 mark and 2 vulnerable, making them squishy, and then when you kill them, you get your card play back because they're marked. And you could redraw it so that it does an area of effect, marking everyone around that central target. It won't add vulnerability to those outer enemies, but it will mark them. But you can mod this to be free. And that's just broken. Oftentimes, like, I'll just use this on enemies just to get the EXP. Like, even if they're already marked and I draw this again, just throw it out again just for the EXP. A lot of free cards are amazing to just pop off because you get those levels out of it, and it helps you get your characters up in levels really quickly. So marking a whole squad of enemies is invaluable. It's broken, it's overpowered, it's amazing. You're going to kill them with other abilities, and it's going to be free. What's even better is you're marking enemies such as minions. If a minion is marked, you can use a non-quick card to kill a minion to get the card play back. And that plays really well with Surgical Strike. So this is a chain attack, and it's 1 for each Iron Man card in your hand. So you can imagine if you have all 8 Iron Man cards in your hand, which is more than likely if you're blasting out all these quick blasts that draw 2 cards, you're going to have 8 cards in your hand, and this is going to be a chain 8. A chain 8 that does 300 damage. Do the math. That's 2,400 damage without crit. With crit, it's almost 5,000 damage. And this isn't even strengthened. With strengthened, you're looking at 7,500 damage. That's why he doesn't need strengthened. Like, why do you need 7,500 damage? So most of the time, my hand is just stuffed full of Iron Man cards. This is rarely ever less than a chain 5 for me. What's even crazier is if you kill a marked minion, and then you use the rest, because you could chain from one enemy to another enemy to another enemy. You could drop 1 or 2, 3, 4 on an enemy, move to the next enemy, drop 1 or 2 on that enemy. So what you do is you kill a little minion that's marked. That means you're guaranteed to get your card play refunded. Then you just drop more surgical strikes on a bunch of other enemies, not killing them, but softening them up. Now you've just softened up like tons and tons of enemies. Make it even better, we go into precision. The next Iron Man card played is not discarded. Free. Draw the last attack played. So you get to play this card for free, and you replace the card play. You replace the card because you use it and it disappears, but you get to draw the last attack played. The last attack played is likely your quick blast that will draw 2 more cards. So you've effectively drawn 2 cards out of this. It's free, but then the next card you play is not discarded. So you've effectively gotten 3 cards out of this. Wow. And if you're using Surgical Strike after this and you chained off on 8 enemies and softened up a bunch, you get to use it again. That's kind of insane. So potentially, if you go crazy and you go with the strengthened on your quick blast and you get the crits, or you give him strengthened from like a Nico character or a Doctor Strange, whatever, yeah, he could potentially do almost 10,000 damage twice in a row, and you can spread that damage out however you like. You'll clear the battlefield with 2 abilities. 100%. And if that's not enough, you'll get your card plays back. So even if you didn't kill them, you could start drawing all your cards again, killing the softened enemies with your quick blasts, and redrawing the surgical strike and everything again. And this is the reason why you probably go, oh, you only ran one surgical strike and one air superiority in your deck. You know, it's only one of each of the two heavy hitters. You could run two of these and two of these and shrink your deck, but I put more weight on marking the enemies to support my team so that they can have a turn to do something. Building up his redraws and his fast and the heroism, that's important. So yeah, there's really no room for anything else when you consider the amount of card draw and things that he's generating to support the team. If we're just looking at the top cards here, this is a lot of support. You know, while he's drawing his own cards, you could mod this to draw cards for the other members. Suddenly they're getting more an opportunity to play, marking the target that your members of your team could take advantage of this. You know, he's very much a supporty character if you want to lean into that, and you could completely take away his damage dealing abilities, but I just have one of each because it's all you really need. Now moving into the last one, air superiority, damage every enemy, and you could redraw this twice to increase its damage, and it goes from 200 to 300 to 400. So you hit every enemy on the battlefield, every single enemy on the battlefield for 400 damage. When it's a crit, it's wow, almost 800 700 or something. So I've modded this to apply one vulnerability, so whoever it doesn't kill, they're left vulnerable, meaning you'll do 50% more damage to them. So one of the moves you can make is you do precision, and then you use air superiority, and it kills a bunch of marked targets and softens everyone up, and then this remains in your hand and you get to use it again. Sometimes you could do double air superiorities and then you've won the mission for free. The card plays are free because you're killing marked targets and you're getting the card plays back. It's just absolutely insane. Another thing to note is when you redraw this and you use your two redraws on this card, if you've used precision first, it just doesn't discard the card. So it doesn't like use it and then bring it back. It just stays in your hand the way it was, meaning it stays in your hand buffed with the two redraws. So it's at full power. It's just incredible. So you can see why he's just so insane, especially because none of these skills require positioning. You don't have to like line it up. You don't have to like move him into a certain position. He just flies into the sky and just starts raining Jericho missiles down on people. It's just ridiculous. It's really, really cool. So that's my build. What do you guys think of it? It's I'd say it's pretty good. Another thing you can do with air superiority is you can make it so it applies one mark to all enemies, just making him even better at marking targets. If you don't, if you just find that this isn't enough, but it's definitely enough. You could also take this so it does 50% more damage as a mod. So instead of 200 damage, it's 300, and then you're doubling. It gets ridiculously high. So if you want him to pack more of a punch, you can do that. But to my argument at the top of the video, the reason I don't give him strengthened is because he doesn't need it. There's rarely a situation where air superiority needs to be any stronger. So one vulnerability is good, I feel. And it gives a chance for my allies to like finish them off. Let them do something and get some EXP. Now, this is where things get juicy, guys. There's another amazing build for Ironman that I highly, highly recommend. And I haven't built it. I don't have it complete, but we could show it to you. Probably be better if I did it at the Forge, because in these videos, what we usually do is we take a look at the other card options. So the other cards in his deck are Blast, and it's 200 damage knockback, and you can redraw it to be forceful. You would want to mod this to be quick, but the problem is you're not drawing a card out of this. So I think this is like his only bad skill in the game. I wouldn't use it. And then here's a card we didn't look at, was Heads Up. You give an ally 400 block or himself, and you get +2 redraws. You would take this skill for the redraws and you would mod it to be free. That way, it doesn't really matter that you're giving an ally block. That's just a bonus. But what matters is you're just getting 2 redraws for free. And you're also getting 400 block for free. 400 block on its own isn't a lot. Like enemies hit for like 500, 600, even more sometimes at Ultimate 3 on level 40. So it might like negate one hit. But it's helpful. But if you're already doing it for the redraws and the card is free, the 400 block is just a bonus. It's not bad. But he can provide defense to allies, which is why I'm showing that to you. New plan: double your current heroism, draw a heroic card. It's also pretty badass. I believe you can mod this to be free because the knock-on effect is draw a heroic card. Normally you can't get free on a draw card, but I've seen it in situations like this where the knock-on effect isn't really drawing. It's not draw a card. It's like it's pulling a heroic card on your hand. So I don't know. I haven't really tested it because I already felt like I didn't have heroism problems with Ironman on my team. So it's like, why double your heroism if you don't need to? But if you could get free on this, I definitely think it's like nice if you're struggling. Maybe you play him with Hulk, who just consumes tons of heroism, then this might be like a good option for you to run. It's still a good card. I'm not bashing it by any means. And we looked at Precision, Leave It to Me, Air Superiority, and Hellfire Beam. So the only cards we didn't really look at, I've got a good mix of all his stuff in my deck already. Blast is bad, but then the other two that I'm not running is Heads Up and New Plan, and they're very good cards. They just don't have room for them when you can only have 8 in your deck. So Iron Man, every single one of his abilities good except for Blast. I mean, it's just a crappier version of his Quick Blast. So yeah, like I would see no reason to ever run that. We're looking at his legendary Hellfire Beam. I recently talked about you want this Heads Up to be free so you get the 2 redraws. So what you do here, Hellfire Beam, damage each enemy in a line, +1 redraw for each KO, redraw to add 100 damage. What's crazy about this card is you can redraw this infinitely. So if you redrawed it 20 times, you'd be adding 2,000 damage, and it would do 2,200 damage to everyone in a line. If it's a crit, now it's 4,000 damage. If you add Strengthen, now it's 6,000 damage. And every enemy it KOs, you're getting your redraws. So what you do is you pop your your Precision first, so that whatever card you play next stays in your hand, right? That way, if you've pumped, let's say, I don't know, 5 redraws into Hellfire Beam, right? Now it's doing 500 extra damage. It kills a bunch of guys. It stays in your hand. It's still got 5 pumped into it. And then everybody that it kills, you get 5 more redraws for killing 5 guys. You can pump 5 more into it. You see where I'm going with this? So how do you get a ton of redraws to pump up Hellfire Beam? Well, you go Leave It to Me, 2 redraws. Put 2 of those in your deck. Now you got 4 redraws. You take that the one that I showed you with the giving your ally armor and getting +2 redraws for free. That's 2 redraws, 2 redraws. And now you also bring Doctor Strange. I always bring Doctor Strange with Iron Man no matter what. They just pair super well together. You get to do the tutorial in the start of the game with the 2 of them as well. They're good buddies, but they butt heads. They're a great combo. They're just the best. Everything that Doctor Strange does with his Astral Meditation, +2 redraws, +2 redraws. And he can draw the last cards played, which Iron Man's last cards were cards that give you redraws. You could do all sorts of stuff with this. So then, talking about battle items, what you want to take with Iron Man on your team is the gain 3 redraws. And with Doctor Strange on your team, he can recall the items, your combat items that you've previously used, and he could do that 2 times. So that's 9 redraws right there, plus all of the ones from your abilities. Now you could potentially get like 20 redraws in just a few hands with Doctor Strange and Iron Man at little to no cost or any card plays at all. Now you could just pump in as many redraws as you want into Hellfire Beam after using Precision, so that you maintain your Hellfire Beam, get it back, and then pump it up even more and use it again. So you can just fly around the map Hellfire Beaming everybody. Now you're like, wow, that sounds amazing. Why aren't you using that build? Why aren't you showcasing that build? Well, once you start putting in those other skills, you kind of have to take out Mark Target. So he no longer really, or you have to like get rid of something. You got to make room. You have to probably get rid of Surgical Strike and Air Superiority in place of Hellfire Beam. You're going to have to make some shuffling, and it might reduce his effectiveness as a support. It will make him even more of an egomaniac, because the whole idea is he's going to Hellfire Beam everyone on the map to ashes. So all of the focus is now on Iron Man, but it's super fun. Now, the one downside to Hellfire Beam is it damages each enemy in a line based off where he's standing. You have to try to reposition him, meaning you're restricted on the line being where he's standing. So you only have one move every turn. So unless you have a way to generate more moves, which I didn't see any here reviewing all this, or you have magic on the team instead of Doctor Strange, who can generate card moves, or moves, then you're gonna have to just use Hellfire Beam where you're standing, which might not be optimal. And I do not like repositioning to do an effect because we're so limited on moves in this game. I do wish we had a little bit more moves. It would make more sense if we had 3 moves, because we have 3 heroes. Each hero should have a move, or something like that, right? It seems a little bit weird that you get 1 move in this game, which is a bit of a downside, and it does limit a lot of the characters, so it's a bit funky. But I thought I'd throw you guys the Hellfire Beam as an option. And the second option, as mentioned, you could take 2 new plans. You could take some heads ups. You can have the 2 marked targets, and then you can just drop like precision. You could drop leave it to me, and you can make it so your quick blast draws cards for your allies instead of Ironman, and suddenly he's more focused on being a support for your team rather than an egomaniac that destroys everything. And that would probably be the third option that I would recommend for you guys, where, you know, he's contributing something to the team in terms of card draws, marking, and giving redraws to the team, so that you could use them in other areas for your allies to start taking hold. And I think I'm going to actually build him this way now that he's already such a high level and I've used him for farming everything. It would be nice to let him sit back a little bit and let the other 2 people on the team go ahead and get some kills. But there's no denying, with these 3 amazing build options, that Ironman is just a killing machine. I already showed you what I recommended for battle items. Just the redraws is perfectly fine. I always take the 3 redraws when I have him on my team, and I generally always take Doctor Strange with him, mainly because whatever card battle items I use, such as the 3 redraws or draw 4 cards or draw 2 Iron Man cards, whatever battle items I end up using, I can use Astral Meditation to get them back. But he's an amazing character. He just pairs really well with Iron Man. And if you didn't want to bring Doctor Strange, Spider-Man's also a really great option, as well as Captain America. They're kind of like pseudo support heroes that can also put out some damage, and that pairs well with, you know, Iron Man. Boom. So that's my review. That's my build for Iron Man. What did you guys think of my build? Is there anything you would do different? Is there anything that inspired you? Is there anything you didn't think about that you're going to run off and go change on your Iron Man? And if you're also wondering how I got all these mods so easily, free, last draw, you know, increased damage, all that sort of stuff, I have a video down in the description below how to get mods, the exact mods that you want, super easily for very cheap, with a certain kind of method that I use. And it's a very concrete method that will definitely increase your success of modding cards with a lot less effort and resources. Boom. If you guys enjoyed the video, please give it a like, and if you want to see more and what I've done with the other heroes, I have tons of amazing builds for all of my heroes. The whole series is down in the description below. Go check it out, give us a sub, and thank you guys so much for watching. I'm Johnny5Alive. Hope you all have a fantastic day, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye now.